Yo, 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 what's going on, fellow Lego Masters fans, Lego tubers, YouTubers alike? Welcome back to our third and final episode for today, just going over the most recent episode of Lego Masters, episode 11, the Castle episode. Now, just to kind of get it out of the way, as we all know, Castle is probably the most popular, if not the biggest Lego theme out there. And there's a reason why
Bionicle.
Nice. No, Bionicle is the best. But by a long shot, it's kind of inarguable that Lego Castle is huge. And so for this episode, they decide to do Castle. Now, it's interesting because we have Mark and Steven, who are like the Castle brothers, as they call themselves. It's like their primary strength. So it's interesting to see that. And another thing about this challenge this week is that they were going to be building the castles off of a wall. So it's going to be hanging from the side of a wall, which is kind of a new approach to it. For sure, one that we don't often see. I've seen it before, but on Lego Masters, no, you've never really seen this before. So with that said, I mean, we can get right to it. I mean, this was what I wrote down in my notes. This was like definitely a stressful episode because while Mark and Steven are good at it, and Caleb and Jacob have definitely tried in the past, Zach and Wayne don't do a whole lot of like castle, and Michelle and Natalie definitely. This is not in their wheelhouse at all. So it was interesting to see where they all took this, and this has been probably one of my favorite episodes. I think each of the teams really played to their own strengths in trying this, and just the amount of creativity and imagination that went into each of these builds is really good. I loved in this episode that Mark and Steven and Caleb and Jacob had a little bit of a beef, but it was Caleb, it was you and Jacob that were the ones that approached them and said, hey, let's make this a thing. Let's make this competition a little more interesting. Let's see who gets the title of Castle Bros. And Will was like, okay, if they're the Castle Bros, you guys aren't going to be the Castle Bros. So I forget, what was it that he said that they would have to call themselves if they lost?
The Jester Bros.
The Jester Bros. But I don't think Mark and Steven called themselves Jester Bros after this. Did they hold their end of the deal?
No. So if Caleb and Jacob won, they were the new Castle Bros.
Yeah.
If they lost, they were the Jester Bros. Mark and Steven were never on the table to be the Jester Bros.
Yeah.
However, we can make it canon that they're Jester Bros. Just saying.
Okay. Well, for the first one we're going to take a look at is Mark and Steven's Gem Mine. Now, when I heard them come up with this idea, I was like, these are the castle guys. This is going to be incredible. They were like, it's going to be a mine on the side. It's going to be a kind of a white castle with a little bit of blue. We're going to have a dragon coming out, very like kind of Hobbit-esque, like just really cool, combination of an old castle, but also that fantasy element that they were going to put into it. So I was super stoked to see what would happen. And of course, as we know with this competition, Caleb says in the chat, they'll always be the Jester Bros to me. Shots fired. I love that sort of friendly competition though. And in this, there was automatic, I guess, no elimination for the person that got the longest measured bridge or longest measured castle that hangs out. I guess bridge, basically, from the front of the castle. Whoever was out the longest was automatically not going to be in the bottom, disqualified. Maybe not the top, as we would see, but, that was an interesting an interesting spin to put on the competition for sure. And so yeah, Marcus Stevens Castle Mine, just incredible. I love the little pulley systems with the little crates they have. I love the color scheme. It's not too crazy. It's mostly white, which just looks pretty. Very much like Minas Tirith vibes almost. And the door cracking open with the gems in the background and the dragon coming out. It was perfectly done. I mean, what can you expect from these guys? This is in their wheelhouse. Even when you're building it from the side and having it hang off of a wall, that's a challenge, but it really wasn't too much of a challenge at the end of the day for them because they really pulled this off. Mark and Steven, hats off to you. Like, each of the teams really did just an incredible job with this. So, yeah, BioScrowl says in the chat, yeah, it's giving me Hobbit vibes, more specifically Smog escaping from Erebor. Yeah, agreed, 110%. First, let's go to Thrawn. So yeah, your thoughts on Marcus Stevens' Castle and just the beginning of this episode in general.
So the episode itself, awesome episode, loved it. We'll get more into that at the end of our episode. For Marcus Stevens, honestly, I do really like the concept, but this feels kind of like they're backpacking off of their floating island build. You know what I mean? Like there's aspects of it that feel very similar to the floating island, where like the design of the models feel very similar to that. The like scaffolding feels very similar to that. And the main issue, I don't know if the judges brought this up. I feel that the colors, although very cartoony and colorful, I felt like there wasn't enough there, right? I think the white is very lacking, and there wasn't enough of other colors. Like you can see red, the orange, and the blue, and that's it. I would have loved to see more. I want more colors. I want more, unique use of parts here. Because as castle builders, I think they did kind of play it a little safe because it's in their wheelhouse, right? I think they definitely should have tried to really test themselves for a lot of the walls and make them a little bit more dense and compact.
Okay.
Although I'm sure that probably would have had issues with the structural integrity of the model. I disagree with the judges on the dragon. I thought the dragon is awesome.
Right.
I don't think a wing would have been. It doesn't make sense.
I disagree there.
Dragon's head. Really? I think the dragon's head being so far.
You want
is
a wing?
No,
Okay.
no.
So I'll let you go. I'll let you, Christian. No, now rebuttal.
All right. Not necessarily a wing. I don't need a wing. That being said, I knew it was a dragon, and when I first saw it, I still was like, is that a dragon? So, to me, maybe just like the classic dragon horns or something like that would have been a little bit more poignant that it's a dragon. But, I mean, I really love the colors that they went with this model. I thought it was such a really cool look. Like, the judges pointed it out, too. It's such a unique look in the blue, the white, orange. I mean, and to your point about them scaling it back, even though it's in their wheelhouse, right. I think I kind of commend them for that. I think more times than not, we see someone who gets something that's in their wheelhouse, and their first thought is, let's show them how good I can be. Let's push it even further. And it doesn't pay off. We see it all the time, like with different like baking challenges or like if cooking shows, if it's your protein, they always mess it up. So I think for Mark and Steven to be humble enough to say, we're good enough at this, let's play it safe from our standards and just create a sound structure and a good story. And they did that. Some nitpicky stuff, yes, but they ultimately did a very good job and ensured that they weren't going to miss out on the finale, which is what matters the most.
Totally.
So I would say that although I agree that sometimes when you go too overboard, it'll end up negatively affecting you in the long run. I think for the dragon, right, I feel that them making it trans red, like making it see-through, I feel was already enough of a challenge because they wanted a crystal dragon. I think adding more on top of that would have been really pushing the limitations of the parts available to them. I can see where like a horn would be super nice or something a little bit more dragony, but like even if it was just a long serpent, I still think that's fine. It's just like for castle, I want more from the castle guys.
Right.
I want to see Castle-y like really go into that castle kind of vibe. But I can see where you're coming from for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't win, so they weren't, the best, ultimate best, but they didn't win, right?
No, they got.
No, they did not.
Second,
no,
they got second because the person who wins automatically is whoever is the farthest, and then the person who wins from the bottom three is the next.
So can we amend that? Because I had a problem with this competition with that. Just because they're the farthest, I don't think means they win. Is that fair to say? Because I can stick a beam. I can stick a beam in the wall that sticks out 8 feet, and I'm the longest. Doesn't mean it's the best.
There were probably caveats to that, I'm sure. I'm sure they were like, you can't just make a really long stick and call it good.
Right.
You're probably right.
Because that's what I would have done the exact same thing. I would have just
That's
made
exactly
something
what I was thinking,
stupid
yeah.
long.
Oh, and quick physics lesson for everyone. We've done a couple of those on this show. You know what? We'll wait until the model comes up for it. Proceed, Zach.
Yeah, so that's our thoughts. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next one here. Oh, where'd it go? All right, so yeah, no, I hear you guys definitely. I feel like maybe they could have tried something a little more out of their, or like push themselves a little more, but this was so in their wheelhouse in a way. I kind of give them the pass, but also I
don't mind them playing it safe. I really don't. I think it would have been so risky right before the finale without the golden brick.
Right.
Up there you go.
Caleb says there were size requirements for the long bit, height and width, but technically it could have looked like anything.
Oh man.
Okay. Interesting. I think their position they got from that was good. I think they deserved the position that they got.
All right. So next we'll take a look at Caleb and Jacob's collapsing castle. Now, end of the day, this was probably my personal favorite just because it was so different. Like, Zach and Wayne's is awesome, and the story behind it too. It's like a touching story, and I actually think the aesthetics there, what they were able to pull off from their original intentions was great. But I loved this collapsing bridge idea. I mean, it's hard to pull off something, I feel like, I'm sure Thrawn, you'll be able to attest more to it, but like to pull off the look of a bridge collapsing and have it stay like that, whatever they're using to keep that together is, I mean, for me, I'd say this is quite an accomplishment. They even have the towers on the back. I mean, the color, the kind of layering on the castle itself too, with the taller towers being different and then like the lower area being its own color. I think like the brick of it kind of like matching the wall but then going off into its own is a really cool look. And there's even like dudes falling off of it. Like, I don't know. I really like this. Personally, this was my favorite. I think it's like it's telling a story a lot more than Mark and Stevens was. Mm-hmm. It was, a dragon escaping, but this to me just like has so much personality to it. And again, like it's just the wow factor that they were able to pull off this look of the bridge collapsing. Let's go to you, Christian, first.
I absolutely love this as well. The concept they came up with, I mean, genius. Like, why not make the bridge collapsing? And not only that, the story that they tagged along with it. Caleb and Jacob, I've said before in an earlier episode, they're my favorite storytellers that we've had in this season. It seems like every time we're getting a complete story and it's reflected in the build. And for this time, we see the one guy with his face at the end fishing and the fish pulled down the whole thing. I mean, I love it. The castles, it's definitely not the best castle out of everyone, but boy, it looks good. And I mean, the sand green on top, I know the sand green pieces they had there are probably awesome to get to work with.
Yeah.
Nice blend into the wall as well, and just, I mean, it's a very, very good build. What else can I say?
Yeah, I really liked it. Thrawn, how about you?
This is my favorite one, hands down. I'll fight anyone who disagrees. The main reason I love this one, first off, shout out to the yellow chilling on the top of that castle.
Right.
Classic castle aspect. That homage right there is already huge to me. If like the history of Lego Castle, if you don't, watch the Lego thing on Netflix. I would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
The sides are so beautifully done with the flags and the different aspects. The jousting story is really cool. Fish is awesome. As Zach said, the structural engineering of getting it to go as far as it's able to go and then curving downwards, that is a bold and really struggling thing to do, in my opinion. Especially with you're slowly moving your weight distribution further and further down. And they showed as they were building it, it was slowly disconnecting from the main connection point at the very back of the wall, that it was warping forward. And to make it even more in that direction, I personally would not have done that. I would not have the balls to do something like that. I would be so worried that thing would collapse completely. My only complaint would be the underside of the bridge is a little bare, in my opinion. I would have done some tiling, maybe some different greebling over there. The faces of some of the castles, I think, are a little plain, but all in all, definitely by far my favorite one. The story I really liked. I thought it was a really cute story. The playfulness of it, the realism of the castle aesthetic, I think, is definitely there. So they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I just think again, it's the engineering aspect. It's like they are the Castle Bros now. Sorry, this is awesome.
They are. They are.
No,
They are the Castle Bros.
Yeah. Also, too, Thrawn, they managed to put in some of that yellow castle, which is just a callback to how the theme originally started. Overall, yeah. Let's look at the chat. Yeah, Bioscroll says it's my favorite as well. Dominic Slavinsky says, agreed, loved the story behind Caleb and Jacob's build, and also was super excited with the classic yellow turrets on the top. Brother from Another Brick says, Caleb and Jacob killed it. They really did. You know, I guess it came down to also the length, but they managed to come out on top, I think, when it came to them against, like, Marcus Steven and the other two teams. I loved it. I think it fit everything that the judges were looking for and then some, because they kind of went out of they pushed the envelope further with not just a long build, but this like drooping, like collapsing bridge, which, yeah, it's the architecture, the design, the engineering to go behind that is really hard to pull off. So everything in this worked for me. Even the little flags on the side, you know, very castle-esque. So, and yeah, of course, our little buddy right here fishing. You know, let me see how to zoom in. Let me zoom into this guy. I mean, those are the things when I go to brick cons or I go to Lego conventions, I love little details like that, you know, because you're looking at this probably an incredible construction that someone has made, but then when you can see these little moments, like when Thrawn and I originally went to BrickCon like 10 years ago, I remember it was like this very serious, like futuristic battle between like mechs, and we had like SpongeBob using force lightning and in the river, and we had like a mini kit that we built like in the Lego Star Wars games that you would find that was up in the air, and it's like those small details, you know, people walk around and they notice that, they recognize that, and they really enjoy seeing that in builds. So seeing that here, just that little detail is incredible. So I absolutely loved it. All right, next let's move on to number 3. We have next up Michelle and Natalie. Now, I will say for builders who just don't do castle, this was going to be they were fighting an uphill battle, you know. They're very colorful and very kid-friendly in a lot of their designs. And so this was nuts. I mean, it doesn't look like a castle, but I'll say it does have, you know, this kind of fun aspect to it. It's, you know, very friendly. I personally liked their touch of like the telescope, because yeah, if I was a kid, built my own fort out of a cardboard box, I would want a telescope, you know, protruding outside that I'm looking through. It's very like the imagination they put into this is great. It's very much like a kid's toy box. It's cute. What can I say? But does it really look like a castle? I mean, from far away, it looks like a kid's toy closet with a kid's toy box on the ground. I love this though. I mean, when you, aside from the challenge, you look at it, there's even the little like, what is it, the foam popcorn coming out of the box that they built as well. And like, I think it was the judge, Jamie, said it's actually very hard to do like drawings, like crayon drawings and scribblings in Lego. And they pulled it off. It looks like a kid made this and drew it and like built it. So I still think like props to them. It's hard for me to say anything negative because it is really pretty to look at and it was a cool idea. Really, the negatives are that it just didn't go that long. The bridge or the castle didn't go too far out. And it doesn't look like a castle. But it's supposed to be like a kid's toy castle that they built. And it, you know, incorporates toys and stuff. So that's my thoughts in general. I still appreciate the build. But as you guys know, if you've watched the episode, spoiler alert, they were the ones who were asked to leave, unfortunately, which is too bad. I am excited to see 3 groups of brothers up against each other. I think, like, You know, brother v brother be brother is like a cool concept. I would have liked to see the girls go on, but at the end of the day, they had a very touching talk about how like we're inspiring young girls to build with Lego, which is very important. And in the end, yeah, it's hard to really talk any crap about their design when I still think it was very well done. But, you know, again, this is tough. All of these teams are amazing. They're firing on all cylinders, and it comes down to the wire with a lot of this stuff. So let's go to Thrawn first. Your thoughts and everything on Michelle and Natalie's Kids Cardboard Castle.
I think they knew. I think they knew where this was going. I think they knew that versus the other three, they didn't have what they were looking for, and so they tried to play to their biggest strength,
Right.
which is that creativity and that uniqueness of taking a challenge and going in a direction no one else would go, right? Everyone else built a castle.
Yeah.
It was some kind of castle, but it was still a castle. So they tried to, you know, wild card it, and I commend them for doing that, because if it was me, I would not have done that. I would have been way too terrified of going against the grain and feeling like I didn't put in my best effort. And they did put in their best effort.
Yeah.
It is a beautifully done cardboard box castle. But as we brought up, compared to the other three teams, it's just not enough. They are amazing builders. I personally was shocked that they were able to get this far.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't think they would. And that makes me reflect a bit on, you know, what I was expecting. Because compared to, I think it was the other two girls' teams from last season, they didn't get as far. And I was thinking that it would be kind of a similar aspect to that. But no, they really surprised me almost every time with how far they got.
Yeah.
And especially as someone who's been like looking into trying to do like Lego side built graffiti, that stuff is challenging to make it look good. And they made it look good, not only look good, but make it look as if a kid actually drew it,
Right.
which is very impressive with the amount of time that they had. And the speech at the end, definitely, I 100% agree. There needs to be, you know, more representation in Lego. I think having more different ideas and opinions in Lego is very beneficial to us as builders, because it means we get more parts. We get more parts, we get more pieces, we get more designs, we get more creativity. We only benefit from this. So I'm all, you know, all for it. I think they did a really good job, and I'm interested to continue seeing what they do after this, honestly.
Right. And then Thrawn, one day you'll meet a girl who likes Lego just as much as you know?
There you go, Thrawn.
That's what we all wish, bro. That's what we all wish.
But all right. Yeah, great thoughts. I 100% agree. Thrawn, on to you, Christian. Your thoughts on the Kids Cardboard Castle.
I like that they went against the grain here with their, you know, development of the idea. It's just, when you look at what other people built, it's not going to measure up to the castles that other people built. It's a nice, cute idea, and they built at the scale that they are most comfortable with. I noticed that they were very good at building these kids' toys. I mean, the markers were exceptional for being such a simple build. The different kids' toys, the books, they really did a good job of showing themselves. And on their mosaic, give me 1 second here.
Oh, he's grabbing a mosaic?
Oh, exactly. So, for anyone that doesn't understand how hard it is to build mosaics, this took forever.
Oh, yeah, the
The
Casino Royale.
The Casino Royale, the fact that they did a mosaic like that, and the way that they built it was on the side. They didn't have the studs facing forward. They had it as a snot technique. I mean, I was blown away that they were able to do that, because you're putting so many plates down, and then you conceptualizing the shaping just exactly as you want it to be. That was incredible. I was very proud to see a mosaic come out here, and just, I mean, good job on that point. But again, when you compare it to the other three castles, it's not going to hold up. It's a nice idea, but I think we all knew that this was coming, that eventually they had to go down. However, they did a great job in this competition, as you guys both said. That build, they had the fashion build. I mean, that was one of my favorite builds this entire season so far. That was absolutely incredible what they did with that.
The hat,
Very talented builders. They just, eventually, it just became too much in the different competitions.
Totally. Brother from Another Brick says Natalie and Michelle did an amazing geometrical job, but amazing geometrically, but their build didn't make sense in this case. Zach and Wayne did an amazing job, always excelling at every challenge, and Mark and Steven's build confused me. Making the shapes Natalie and Michelle made was insane. Natalie and Michelle's group was the dark horse group of the season. For sure, I agree. Bioscrawl says he agrees too. Yeah, literally, they were the dark horse. They kept on making past these competitions, and I was going, wow, I mean, good for them. They're really killing it. But all right, last but not least, we'll be talking about Zach and Wayne's Heaven's Castle. Here we go. So, yeah, I mean, Zach and Wayne were set on doing a Chinese-style castle, pulling from their own personal roots, but also from, I think, it was Wayne who explained, like, he had a friend who passed away who said, take it to the limit, sky's the limit. You got to reach for the stars and do what you can whatever you can do. And this was like a little bit of almost like a tribute to him in that case. So, this show being a well-produced show goes for that emotionality aspect. And it really was exactly what they were trying to do. Like, they pulled it off. Not only was it the longest, but I think it was one of the widest, because this was going to be a difficult thing to build. You're dealing with a lot of weight, not on the back, but towards the middle and extending outwards. So to be able to pull this off engineering-wise, a little bit like what Caleb and Jacob were able to do, when I look at this, it's really pretty to look at. It's like someone made this incredible structure in real life. Like, it looks from far away, you squint your eyes, it looks like what a real, like, Chinese aesthetic Chinese castle would look like, with the red and everything. So there's not much else to say other than Zach and Wade killed it, as they normally do. But with this one especially, I think spoke to their strengths, and just the passion that Zach allowed his brother Wayne to really pour into this meant a lot. And of course, the judges, the Lego Masters, said, boom, obviously you're immediately not going to be disqualified because you guys nailed it with the distance that away from the wall here. So yeah, obviously just really awesome. Christian, AllOutBrick, your thoughts on Heaven's Castle, Zach and Wayne.
All right, now it's time for a physics lesson. So I want everyone to understand the way that beams like this work we are fixed at this end, right? As we put weight further and further down away from this fixed end, it creates a larger overturning moment on this connection to the wall. So if you were to put a 10-pound weight in front of the wall directly, it's not going to cause anywhere near as much as a deflection or an overturning or failure as if you put it on the end. So the fact that they put their heaviest element, the castle, about halfway through, and on top of that had the longest beam, means that they had the most forces coming down at the center and the end. They had an incredible amount of forces trying to rip that thing out the wall, and the wall was obviously never going anywhere, but whether or not those connections to the yellow bricks failed, something else. Speaking of those yellow bricks, they didn't use all of them.
Right.
They didn't even use all of their support, and they did this. That is unreal that they were able to design something like this. And you saw when they were putting on the castle how careful and diligent they were being with it.
Yeah.
This is absolutely incredible that they pulled this off from an engineering standpoint. They didn't use all the supports. They had the biggest moment on that wall for a sheer failure. And they pulled, this is, as your in-house structural engineer, I love it. I do think that, again, they kind of suffered from their general failure of, it's just a little plain.
Yeah.
We see it time and time again. They are the best technical builders, I think. They will come up with the best engineering solutions, but they don't know how to finish off the build. Will that hurt them in the finale? We're going to find out. But they're very, very talented builders nonetheless, and it was a nice tribute that they had with their build here. But yeah, you know, they added a little bit of detail, and the one thing I think if they covered up those yellow bricks, they got a little bit of a deduction there. The judges pointed out that those yellow bricks were exposed. Hey, if they just cover those up and blend those in with the rocks, the judges are sitting there saying the same thing I just said. Of how unbelievable of an engineering accomplishment this is.
Totally.
And I'm surprised Zach and Wayne didn't. That I guess just goes to their attention to detail, that lack thereof. That if they had that great attention to detail, they would have saw that yellow brick and say, let's cover that up. But that's kind of a thing of like, why'd you leave that open? But hey, man, the fact that they decided to flex that they didn't use all of the attachments, good for you guys.
Yeah, I like sitting in on Christian's classroom. That's pretty great. You should start that. Just Lego architecture, Lego engineering.
Lego engineering, man.
All right, Thrawn, how about you? What do you got to say about Zach and Wayne's Heaven's Castle?
Yeah, I'll just sound like a broken record if I say it again, but it's the same thing that I've kept saying. The engineering, technical stuff, they mastered. They know exactly what they're doing. It went the longest, thus they won. In terms of actual design, I didn't like it as much. The temple itself, I think, is where a lot of the time went into, and that's why it looks the best. But the rest of it is very plain, very boring. I don't like that I can see the white structure on the outside. I feel like that could have been implemented a little bit better. Had it not been that distance was the thing you wanted to focus on most, I don't think they would have won for this one. But because it was a distance-oriented challenge, and if you got the highest distance, you automatically made it, it's why they got the position they did, and it played to their strengths. Again, the next competitions, I think, is going to be a real struggle for them, for sure.
So Zach, or not Zach,
Caleb, or what?
I want to, and actually, both of you, actually, I would like your opinions on this. So Thrawn, you pointed out the white that's sticking out. Do you think they meant to cover that up? But when they realized just how fragile this structure was going to be with all of that weight on the outer edge, do you think they were afraid to go and touch that at all once they had the castle in place?
Well, they were probably.
I think so. I would have been too scared.
They were probably like, we already know we're the longest. Because in this episode, it was so funny. They were all taking measuring tape and going up to each other's and seeing who was the longest. So I think
who was the first one that measured it? Was it Caleb and Jacob that walked up to
probably
theirs with the measuring tape and Zach?
I don't know.
Like, first.
But I think I agree with Thrawn. I wouldn't touch it. And I mean, when they realized they were the longest, they were like, "Look, we got this. We're gonna be fine. Let's not mess this up. You know, let's not ruin it just for the aesthetic's sake." So totally, I think that was definitely their reasoning behind it.
I think so. I mean, and I'm looking at it and I'm realizing it now. You know how we kind of messed around earlier that we could just stick a giant beam in the wall?
Yeah.
They kind of did that. But again, the forces that are going on in the middle of that and that are all the way, I guess, like 6 or 7 feet out from that wall, that is unbelievable for Lego pieces.
Oh yeah. No, I 100% agree. This was awesome. So, yeah, to recap, this was like one of my favorite challenges yet. You know, Lego Castle is just a classic Lego theme. A lot of people excel at it. Mark and Steven, that was their wheelhouse. Caleb and Jacob, Mark and Steven decided to see who could be the better ones, and it turned out that for at least this episode, this season of Lego Masters, the real Castle Bros are Caleb and Jacob. I mean, they did an incredible job. Zach and Wade had a touching tribute to one of their friends who passed away, and I think just they gave it their all as far as engineering wise, and their dream, their goal here was 100% met. And then even when it comes to Michelle and Natalie, like while it wasn't castle-y, they really tried to do something new and kind of go against the grain of what everyone else was thinking of doing here. So all in all, I loved all these builds. You know, personally, Caleb and Jacob, I loved theirs probably the most, just for that really cool storytelling aspect, because I'm a sucker for that. But otherwise, each one of these builds was incredible, immaculate, and it was unfortunate to see Michelle and Natalie go, but next week, man, we'll be watching. It's literally, we should almost do a pre-show of like what we think is going to happen, because it's literally 3 teams of brothers going against each other. Two brothers versus two brothers.
That's, I was about to say. I was like, three brothers.
Three pairs of brothers.
Wild, man. Absolutely wild. And I want to say, Caleb and Jacob, you guys overcame physics incredibly well, too. That hanging down like that, approved by your in-house engineer.
Yeah, I mean, pretty nuts when you think about how far these teams have come. I mean, it's insane. It's like a really big accomplishment for anyone to be able to pull off.
Clock struck midnight on Michelle and Natalie, but I think we can all agree this was as far as they could have possibly gone. That's got to be an achievement.
No, totally.
I mean, good. I mean, absolutely, they did the best they could in this competition, I think.
But anyways, guys, thanks to the 6 concurrent viewers watching here. BioScrowl, Brother from Another Brick, of course, Caleb, Cheesy Studios. I love having one of the contestants here actually watching our show. We'll be interviewing Caleb from Team Caleb and Jacob tomorrow, I believe. Whenever he's available, I think we're gonna do it on Discord. I think Thrawn from Thrawns Revenge, he has a Twitch. Go follow him there. He's going to be doing it live, and then I'll be recording the episode and uploading it separately. I think Christian might as well, but it's going to be a really cool opportunity to get some insight on behind the scenes of as much as we can, obviously, without going overboard on LEGO Masters and how it really goes. Thanks, Dominic, for tuning in. Yeah, I mean, this was quite an episode, and I'm super stoked. I'd like to say what I've seen from this finale, but I know, Thrawn, you don't watch the previews, so I don't want to spoil anything, right? You haven't watched the preview at all?
I did not watch the preview.
They really didn't show much.
They didn't show much. They showed one element of what they have to do.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, which is cool. They haven't done that before, so I'm excited to see what happens. Unfortunately, it looks like this season, because of COVID and everything, they aren't going to have all the people come back with their families, like they did in the season finale of season 1. But all I know is I hope to God that this show's doing well. I mean, I've heard from Brother from Another Brick and some other inside sources that it hasn't been doing as well. Numbers wise, I think season 1 did so well because everyone was quarantined and locked in. And it was kind of this niche show, one of the only ones that was on at the time. And, this year we had the Olympics and a bunch of other stuff, but we'll see. I mean, people appreciate the show and they love it, so I really hope it gets renewed. We'll talk more about it on the season finale. But until then, 7 concurrent viewers, around 30 playbacks throughout the show. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll be coming at you next Wednesday with the season finale, and maybe if we have time Tuesday, we can do a bit of a little pre-show just to really get everyone excited and prepared and give our overall thoughts of everything on the season so far. And yeah, look forward, you guys. Stay tuned soon for our interview that Christian, Thrawn, and I are going to be having with Caleb from Team Caleb and Jacob. It's going to be a really fun one. So yeah, great episode, great job. Anything you guys have to say before we go? Otherwise, yeah. Excited for this next episode.
Let's go. We are at the finale. Let's go.
Yeah, I am super excited.
It's going to be interesting.
I'm super stoked on it too. It's been a wild ride so far, so I'm excited to see the end. All right, people are tuning out, so until then, guys, until next week, what is it? Get your brick on and
stay bricking.
Stay bricking. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week for the season finale of LEGO Masters Season 2.